Hello, everybody. Welcome to Roll and Move Live, episode 15. Thanks so much for tuning in today. With me, as always, our good friend, my co-host, Asdruval, the Retro Gamer. Asdruval, how you doing today?
I'm doing fine. We need to find some kind of music to play, as it's going.
we'll have to up the audio visual budget there, get some music in there. But yeah, definitely.
You gotta go ahead and hire somebody to the payroll after.
Exactly. Yeah, gotta expand the group here, the crew. Well, Asdruval, it's nice to see you. This is our 15th episode. It's our first Friday night episode. And got a little bit of a different vibe. Weekend's starting out. Everybody's getting ready to party. So here we are. And with us today, joining us, very happy to have our guest. You've seen him on Board Game Breakfast. You've seen him on Late to the Table. He does the, probably from his What Should I Play segment. And our guest today is Gary Pope. Gary, thanks for coming on. Nice to have you.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's great to be here on this great Friday evening, even though it's 4 in the afternoon for you guys for fall, right?
Right.
Yeah. Sure.
Right.
Cool. All right. Well, hold on a second, guys. My light just died. I got to fix that. Sorry about that.
You know, while you're fixing your light, let me go close my door real quick.
Okay.
Oh, did my camera just die? No.
We are not seeing you, Gary.
Oh, 1 second.
I might have to. Oh, shoot. Okay. All right. Let me see.
Sorry about that, folks. We're having some technical issues.
Asdruval, you're in charge right now.
Sure.
Okay.
There
All
we
right,
go.
well, at the moment, I can still at least talk and improvise while I'm fixing this camera. So let's go.
Cool.
Before this show, I said I have like 8 cameras, and no joke, I had a picture to turn around. I have 4 cameras attached to the top of my computer right now. Just so when one goes out, I'll just switch it over.
That's all right. Hey, as long as we can hear you, that's the important. Most people watching probably wish my camera would go out. So as long as we can hear you, that's good. And we will be doing a little bit later, folks. We're going to be doing some what should I get style talks with Gary. If you have requests, if you have want suggestions from Gary for your game group, go to the chat now. Tell us what you're looking for a little bit later on. We'll talk to Gary about that. But in the meantime, Gary, since you're first time on the show, let's talk a little bit about you, get to know you. Tell us a little bit about, your background, how you got in the hobby, and how you, from there, got into content creation.
Well, basically for me, it started out a while ago. I was, I would say I was maybe around like 6, 7 years old when my family started playing a lot of board games and everything. And how I basically got from there was like I was playing games like Life. My favorite game of all time growing up was probably Payday. I don't know why to this day it was Payday, but now I think about it back in how it used to be. I don't know how I used to like that game. And it looks like I fixed the camera. 1 second. Oh, did I just do a nice little switch over and it made it go seamlessly? Yeah. Maybe. All right, sweet. So we could go ahead and remove my other account there. All right. So anyways,
you got rid of the wrong one.
Oh no. Wow. Gary, if you're watching, click back on that and we'll dang it. Oh man. Wow. Okay. Not good. Sorry about that. Gary, if you're watching, click back on the link and we'll get you back on here. Sorry about that. And it's always, usually this happens off the air. So you're get a little look behind the curtain here and how the sausage is made on this show because this always happens, but usually it's before we go on the air. Okay, let me try and get Gary back. Asdruval, while we're waiting.
Yes, sir.
We were talking a little bit off the air. You've been playing Raxon solo. You got your.
Okay, sorry about that.
Okay, there he is. Sorry about that. Okay.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, all right, we're good. Sorry about that, Gary. I hit the wrong button. Okay,
no so,
as you were saying.
Yeah, so Payday was one of my first games, and it was like probably my first love, I guess you could say. And then from there, the weird thing that actually happened was that when I maybe turned around 10, we kind of just stopped playing board games live. I guess you could say we kind of did the switch over to video games. And then for a long time, I didn't play board games. I literally didn't play, except for the occasional random like Monopoly or something like that. I didn't play board games until I was probably 18 or 19 when I was in college. And then one day, one of my friends was just like, "Hey, Gary, do you want to go out and play board games with me one night instead of like going out, like doing typical college stuff?" And I was just like, "Yeah, fine, why not? Let's go for it." So then the funny thing was that my gateway designer game was actually Agricola. Like that was the game that that was the first game. He was just like, "Hey, Gary, we're gonna go out for a game night and we're gonna teach you Agricola." And that was the first one. And somehow I'm still in this hobby. Somehow I'm still around playing games, and I actually really enjoyed that game of Agricola. It was like one of those games where I was like, even though yes, it was brutal, I did lose by a ton. I didn't have, and everyone was like going pretty well, and I was still starving my family the entire time. But I really liked it. And then the second game we played after that was Dominion. And then basically from there, from a couple of nights of doing that during college, I then once again kind of stopped. But like I kind of had it in the back of my mind where it was like I really enjoyed that game night. And then after college, what randomly started happening was that we started having game nights again. My friends still had like maybe 3 or 4 games. He had Agricola, he had Cosmic Encounters, he had Catan, and that was kind of it. And then, so we started playing those games a lot. And then after a while, I was just like, oh, let me go buy a couple of my own games, see what games that people like, stuff like that. And I started really slow. I bought maybe 3, 4 games. And then I had 3 or 4 games for maybe about a year or two. And then it was actually around the time when I got into this house. I just bought this house like 2, 3 years ago. That was when I was just like, oh, I have a good amount of space to start collecting games. And then I just started going crazy at that point. Like that was just like when it was just like, okay, I was buying probably at least 1 game a week. And I was like a low week was buying 1 game a week. Like it was getting really bad to the point where like, and I started having people over for game nights. And then when I started having people over for game nights, I was like, I realized that my collection was nowhere near good enough to have people like other gamers over for game night, because it was just like, oh, I want to play this kind of game. I want to play that kind of game. So it's just like, since I was hosting, I was trying to have it comfortable for everyone so no one had to bring games. It was kind of just like, hey, come over. There's a large selection of games here. And I'm at this point where I would have a lot more games, but I've actually recently been selling a ton of games. But like my friends counted about maybe 6 to 8 months ago, I probably have only like 150 games. But that was also when they counted, I had probably 50 games in my car too. Because I always have like 50 games in my car because I do a lot of bar nights. I host a lot of events at bars like every 2 to 3 weeks. So it got to the point where I just kept them in my car at this point. But yeah, that's basically what got me into gaming, was just that slow, progressive crawl throughout life. And then over the past 3 years, it really just like took off at that point.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Now you mentioned the group you're playing with. Who as you were more introduced to it. It sounds like you were introducing more people to the hobby and to the games. Who was that group? Was that family? Was that friends? Or was that new people you're meeting through gaming?
Oh, currently, like right now-ish, like over the past couple of years, you'd say? Or
yeah.
like over the past couple of years, it's been actually kind of random people in terms of like I joined Meetup.com. First, I was playing games with like the people, my best friend that got me into board gaming. And after I was playing with him and a few of his cousins and friends for a good like year or two, they got to a point where we didn't like split up or anything like that, but we kind of were doing other things in our lives. Like he literally moved to Europe, so he physically couldn't play games anymore. But yeah, he moved to Europe. A couple of my friends, they're like 3 years younger than us, so they were kind of still in college while I was kind of out of college. And we all kind of just progressed. We were doing our own thing. So I was just like, I went from playing board games with them every week, every other week, to then once every like 2 to 3 months. So I was just like, that's not enough. So I joined Meetup.com. Once I found Meetup.com, I joined a group. And then I actually didn't really join the group until I randomly showed up by coincidence at a 24-hour event that they were running. And they threw me like I don't know how I didn't leave the place the first game, but they threw me at an Archer game that's like god awful, like, with people I've never seen since that day. And and then that basically just set it off from there. Like ever since that day, I then started going to their events more and more often. I started hosting my own events on that meetup at my house, which is how I started having people at my house all the time and random other gamers. And then from there, at that point, I think it was like a year and a half ago now. I'm one of the lead organizers for that meetup. So, and it's also like one of the most active and biggest meetups in Connecticut. So, so yeah, it's been a quite a fun ride, like of how things have turned around from me just being like, I barely know anything about designer games to all of a sudden, like people are asking me about designer games. People are asking me like, oh, what's the next Kickstarter I should get? I'm just like, oh, I don't know. I don't know. Just is there a new werewolf then? Just go with that, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, so that's basically like how things have developed in this like my group around here now. So it's pretty cool.
Cool.
Gary, how did you get involved with the Dice Tower?
That was kind of random. Basically, what happened with that was I started my own YouTube channel, and actually, what started the YouTube channel is that it was originally a Twitch channel. If you guys know what Twitch is, and if you don't know what Twitch is, if you're listening, Twitch is basically a streaming service, mostly for video games. But they kind of started to branch out to other things. Like, for example, they're doing like a Twitch, they're doing like an anime week or something like that right now. They had like a Bob Ross painting week or whatever. So what's called? So they mostly focus on video games, but recently they've kind of been trying to show support for board games. And so I wouldn't say I was the first, but I was probably like one of the I'd say I was maybe in one of the first like 5 or 6 people that were doing it on a consistent basis, like 2 to 3 times a week, where we were streaming board games. So I was doing that on Twitch. I did that on Twitch for like almost a year or something like that. And then it just didn't work out at the end of the day. The only reason why I wouldn't say the only reason why it didn't work out, but several reasons why it didn't work out was no one was into doing it as much as I was. And when that's the case, it's not really fun to watch, because when people are watching, like I would try to interact with people in the audience and that are watching and stuff like that, but everyone else, I'm at a table with like 7 other players and no one else is. So it's like, it's a little awkward, but, and that was actually one of the things that made, I tried making my game nights a little bit unique. Oh, did my camera just go out again? I think it did. Okay, now it's back.
Yeah, yeah, you go.
That's going to be fun dealing with the entire show. But what's it called? So, but yeah, so that was one of the issues I had with the Twitch stream. And then after doing that for almost a year, I made my YouTube channel. I ran with that for about 3-4 months. And then after 3-4 months, I was like doing a lot of posts and posting them on Reddit and stuff like that. I know, getting like a lot of views and everything from Reddit. And I'd assume that that's how Tom stumbled on it. And then he hit me up, was just like, hey, do you want to be a contributor for a board game breakfast? I was just like, yeah, that sounds like a cool idea. So I went with it.
Cool. Now, how did you become the what should I get guy? Like, what was it, just from your activity on Reddit that you kind of gained that reputation of being the go-to guy for ideas on what games you should play?
Yeah, basically. I mean, it was my idea for the segment because I was trying to think of something that was different. I didn't want to do a news segment because at the time I also was kind of doing a reading Reddit segment where I was basically going on Reddit. I was looking at all of the top news and stuff like that, and then I was basically making a video out of it. And I didn't want to do that because I was just like, oh, I probably might conflict with other segments on the board game breakfast.
Sure. Oh. Okay, we lost Gary.
We lost Gary.
Yeah, he did say off the air he was having some internet connectivity issues. So we'll wait till we get him back. Let's go back to our filler conversation, Asdruval.
Let's go to what we've been playing recently.
Okay, all right, yeah, let's start with that. And I know we started talking a little bit about Raxon. I know you've been playing that. I think you said you're playing that solo version.
Hey guys,
there he is.
Okay.
Hey guys, yeah, sorry about all this. This is
no problem.
I have no idea what's going on right now with all this disconnects. So,
like I said, I think the episode might be a little cursed because Asdruval, before we went on the air, got connected with no problems. So we're paying for that now. So don't worry about it, Gary. We'll get through it.
Sorry about that, but
no problem.
But yeah, where's that? So we're talking about
your
how to build
Reddit.
Yeah. So I didn't want to conflict with any of the other shows. So basically, what I did was I was just like, okay, what else could I do that's different that I can also figure out how to make an easy segment every week. So it's just like I'm not sitting here struggling, thinking like, oh man, like what do I need to talk about this week on the show? It's just like, okay, I can look on Reddit for 2 seconds. But yeah, and that's how I came with the what should I get, because I noticed that one of the most comments I usually do are actually what should I get. It's like I'm usually sitting there all the time. It's like because I'm sitting at work and I do nothing at work, so it's just like I just wait. I'm just like hitting the refresh screen on Reddit like constantly, just waiting for a new post to come up. And that's usually one of the most things I usually respond to, because those come up fairly often, is the what should I get. So
cool.
And so that's how I came with the idea.
Nice. Awesome. All right. Well, we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But in the meantime, Azrael, we start talking a little bit. So we'll start with you. What games have you guys been playing recently? What's been coming to your table? What's really got your attention? What games are you really excited about right now?
Okay, so the last week I got a copy of Raxon, and Gary, it was you. You started the post on the Slack channel where everybody was talking about it. And
that was Roy. How he was just like, "Hey, anyone want to invite?" He was like, "Oh, wait."
Right. And then how Tom got really upset because why are they doing this and all this? But I got an invite from Bobby Sears, and I, got my game. But I'm really enjoying it. I've just been playing it solo, but getting it to the table tonight with a 4-player game. So I've been playing that, and also the Champions of Midgard expansions that just came out on Kickstarter. I just got those last week also, and that's kind of reinvigorated the game for me because I thought it was a great game, but I was always thinking that they'd bring expansions a lot more sooner than they did. But they came out with 2 of them at the same time. So I've just been enjoying that a lot.
It just evened everything out, where it's just like, okay, nothing's coming out. It's like, okay, well, 2 things came out. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Gary, how about you? What have you been playing lately?
Actually, I've surprisingly not been playing a ton. I guess you could say not a ton of new stuff. One of the games I've been getting to the table probably most often is Guards of Atlantis, where if you haven't heard of that game, it's a very small game. Well, not small game, but it's a very not well-known game because it's a MOBA game, and it's comparable to Rum and Bones and stuff like that. But it's by far my favorite MOBA game I've ever touched so far. And I played a lot of MOBAs. I played League of Legends, Dota, Heroes of the Storm, and I've been playing those games for like 12, 13 years. And when I say that this is the closest game to actually emulating a MOBA on a board game, it's by far the closest one, where it's like my original board game group, the guys who started me into it, also played MOBAs as well. And they've been playing it recently too, and they're just like, "Yeah, Gary, this is like our new favorite game now. Like we don't even want to play League of Legends on the computer. We'd rather just come over and play this game now at this point." But
that's cool.
But that's been probably the biggest game I've probably been getting to my table most often. Besides that, I've been playing a lot of small games, like for example, I ran a bar event last Friday where we played Monikers, Codenames. What other small games did we play? I think we played Werewords. That's been actually one that's been getting to the table pretty often now recently. And just not last night, 2 nights ago, we played, not only did we play Guards of Atlantis, but we also played Codenames, and we also played, I was trying to teach them how to play Insider, except those guys, they're not the biggest fans of social deduction games, but I'm trying to like ease them into it. It's like, hey, can you guys like see if you can like this one? And it's progressively move them up the ladder. But I don't think they're having that. But what's it called? But yeah, those are kind of mostly the games I've been playing over the past week or 2. But by far, Guards of Atlantis has been my favorite. I'm actually liking that game so much. Whenever I like a game, I obsess over the game. Well, I mean, I obsess over the game. For example, Comet was probably my the last game I really, really, really liked. To the point where I actually made 3 expansions for that game. So, so with actually the funny thing is with Guards of Atlantis, I've actually been talking with the designer. So I got templates now for how to make new characters. And I've already went online and ordered little models that can actually fit on this board of League of Legends characters. So I'm going to make League of Legends characters for the game. And then I have Monopoly Gamer up there, which actually I was trying to get that to the table this week, except that didn't happen. And I'm going to turn the characters from that, because they fit on the board, into characters in the game too. So I'm like, literally, my plan is to double the roster, hopefully in the next like few months. So that should be fun.
That reminds me, I enjoyed your Monopoly segment you did. I think last week or the week before. Did you enjoy doing you brought up a lot of Monopoly versions? Did you enjoy doing the research for that?
Oh yeah, and I was actually really shocked. Like, my reaction in the video was actually relative to how I was when I was looking at my computer, because I was just sitting there, just like, okay, like there's probably going to be. I was realistically thinking, like, I was trying to be really conservative. I was just like, okay, there's probably going to be 50 to 60 different Monopolies. It's not even close. There's like, I'll go to that page again right now, and I'll scroll, and like, I'll just keep talking about other stuff, but I'll let you guys know when I scroll to the bottom of the page. But what's it called? Okay, so I'm going to start scrolling now. But anyways, but that video actually was really surprising about how many were in that. And the thing that got me the maddest is at the end of that video, I put a bunch of honorable mentions, and there was 4 of them. It was Back to the Future, which I was actually surprised they never made that. There was a Home Improvement, which I just got to the bottom of the page. There was a Home Improvement one, which I really wish they made, even though it made no sense to make a Home Improvement. It just would have been hilarious to have Tim Allen have a game. And they had a Kingdom Hearts one, which I would have really liked. I would have been a huge fan of that one. And then the last one, what was the last one? It was, this is going to bother me. I can't remember what the last one was. And it'll come to me eventually. But but yeah, that was a really interesting one to have a segment of. But yeah, that was pretty fun. I was really surprised about that one.
Yeah, but in my collects Monopolies, and I think he alone has probably 60 editions sitting on his shelf.
Really?
Yeah, there's when you on your segment you showed some ones I'd never seen before, but we have a toy and game store locally, and it's like puzzles and Monopoly, and like a third of the store is just different versions of Monopoly. And every time I go in, they have new stuff, and I'm like, wow, I think there's probably like half a dozen like different Simpsons Monopolies.
Really?
There's so many out there. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Oh yeah, that is true. I'm looking at the list right now. I see at least 3 here. At least 3.
They have like the standard, then they have the Halloween, like the Treehouse.
Yeah, the Treehouse Hurry Up. I'm seeing that here.
And then they got I've seen a couple other ones too. I know just maybe they update them throughout the years, but there's a lot of them out there.
Yeah, so there's literally one for every state, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So it's like,
and most major colleges have them too. Like there's like Penn Stateopoly and all. Every college has their own version of Monopoly too. I don't know if that's official. It might be like a knockoff thing. But anytime you go to a college bookstore, you see their version of Monopoly.
I think USAopoly puts those out.
Is that who that is?
Colleges. I think
okay.
So.
Yeah, that was actually the most confusing thing, because I ran into one that was called Beaveropoly, and I was just like, oh, okay, cool, a beaver version of one. That makes a lot of sense. And then I looked into it because I used that as one of the ones I was gonna make fun of, and I was just like, oh, it's about football. Okay, that just. You moved right up the charts being made fun of. It's just like...
Okay, wait a minute. The Beavers, Oregon State is just about 20 miles up the road from me.
Oh, so you would have known that was about...
I saw the Beavers. He knows about the Beavers.
Cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as what I've been playing, July's been a very busy month for me game-wise. Most of like spring and early summer, I didn't get to do a lot of gaming at all, but July has really picked up. I've got, been with a lot of different people I've had a chance to sit down and play with. I've been past couple weeks. I played a lot of really great games. One game is I'd never even heard of this. Buddy of mine picked it up. It's called Ethnos. I think Cool Mini or Not puts it out.
Yeah, that's a pretty good. That's a well-known one at this point right now.
Yeah. I had never. I afterwards I went and saw it, and I was like, wow, this is really a pretty big game, but I somehow missed it. And it's really cool, like area control plus set collection game. where you have all these different fantasy races that have different abilities, and you're trying to make sets either based on their colors or their card type, and they whoever is at the top of your stack, they have a power, and there's maybe 20 different races, and you only use 10 of them, so every game is going to be completely different. I really enjoyed that. I was telling Azra off the air, I got to play last night a game I've been waiting to play for a while, Aquasphere. Really, you look at it, it's colorful and it's a pretty game. You're like, oh, that looks like fun. It's a really brain-burny Euro game. Really enjoyed that as well. So a lot of good games I've been getting to the table lately. It's been a good month for gaming.
Nice. I've been actually meaning to play Aquasphere, except I can never find anyone that owns it. That's usually my problem at this point right now, at least with that game. But
yeah, I was at my buddy's house last night, and it's the first time I've played with him a lot, but I've never been to his place. And his collection is substantial. I mean, it looked like walking into a game store or something. And he had some really nice. I mean, it's not just games; it's a collection. He has the that special edition Small World in the giant chest, and
he has that. That
yeah,
thing's ridiculous. I just saw that for the first time at Dice Tower-Con. That thing is ridiculous.
Yeah. Oh,
scary.
Hopefully we'll have him back here in a second. But yeah, he had a big I didn't get to play it, but I got to go through and look everything and handle everything.
What's the retail value on that game, you think?
I think it originally sold for $350 was the original price when you bought it. But that's what my buddy was saying. He's bummed out that he didn't buy a couple copies because they said if you go online now you see it for up to like $2,000. So the value has really skyrocketed on that. And you know what other game he has, Asdruval? Fireball Island. He had a copy of Fireball Island in there. So I was really I was tempted to make him break that out, let me play it, but probably do that another time.
Keep voting for Fireball Island on RestorationGames.com, okay?
You're our insider there, Asdruval. You're supposed to be getting that done. I'm upset it hasn't happened already.
I know.
I'm hoping for a big announcement at Gen Con. If it doesn't happen, I'm going to be disappointed.
Yeah.
But what else have I played lately? I'm trying to think of what other games I've gotten to the table. I've been trying to get some like the classics to the game, games I haven't played yet. And one of my friends has really been building up his collection, and he's been going on Board Game Geek and getting kind of like a lot of the standards. And I realized a lot of the top 100 I haven't played. So I've been trying to get as much of that at the table as possible, and he's really been helping me out with that. All right, we got Gary back. How are you?
All right, perfect. I was literally getting ready to say when I come back, I was going to say, I think there's just a problem with Comcast here for like the next hour or so. So if I disconnect, just pretend I'd never left, I'm coming right back. And so I'm probably going to switch over to my iPad to see that helps. But I really think it's just the internet in the house is just really acting up right now because my roommate came down, was complaining a few minutes ago. Well, not right before the show started. So it seems to be everyone's having problems right now.
That's no problem. We'll get through it. Well, Gary, like I said, we're glad to have you on. And usually when we have a guest such as yourself on, we try to cater our main topic to your strength. And so that's one of the things I want to talk about is, you do your segment on, picking the perfect game for a group or for a situation. So just in general, wanted to get both your ideas, both your input on this. What are some ways, if you got a game group, maybe it's a new group, maybe you got new members, maybe it's a group that's been around a while, but the games you're playing getting stale. What advice do you give, or how do you yourself? You're talking about your different. You do bar nights, all these different things. What do you think are the right steps for picking, the perfect board game for a certain group or a certain situational game night?
I would say this: there takes a few things that you need to do whenever you're picking a game. One thing that I've learned, and this is actually probably the most important thing, is that and this is actually sounds kind of almost counterproductive, but you don't necessarily need to pick the perfect game, or honestly even close to the perfect game. And the reason why I say that is because one problem I had with when I first joined meetup groups and started going out to public events and stuff like that was that I found myself in more situations where people were just talking about which game to play and we're discussing almost too much about what kind of game would be perfect for the situation right now, rather than just playing a game. So it's like there are often times where, and this my first experience of this ever happening, I went to a game store. I'm not even exaggerating the story. I went to a game store and I didn't know anyone there. And I got to talking to people and we were trying to figure out a game to play. Now, at this time, I didn't know that many games to really say, oh, we should probably play this. What ended up happening was that we literally talked about what game we should probably play for at least 2 hours. It was a minimum of 2 hours. And that was the main reason why I started hosting game nights at my place, because it was just like, okay, at my place, I'm just going to say either we're playing this tonight or people are going to come over and they're going to look at my games and just pick something. So it's like, but yeah, so that's really what happened the first time. So I would say one thing is, one bit of advice at first is literally just put a game down. Literally grab whatever you kind of feel like playing or what you think might work for the situation and put it down on the table. If people want to play it, they're going to play it. If they don't want to play it, you'll sit there awkwardly for maybe 3 minutes and then you put it away. So it's like another game. So that's like the first thing, is because people just sometimes just want to play a game. They almost don't even care. They just want to maybe learn a new game, or maybe they've already played that game and it's like a quick one they can hop into or what have you. So that'd be tip number one, is just don't overthink it. I guess the best way to put it. Don't overthink it. Just grab something and put it down. Now, the second thing, we're actually going into what games to play. Don't be afraid to ask a lot of questions. Well, I mean, ask a lot of questions. I would say sit there and talk about for 20 questions, ask people like a ton of questions. But I mean, like, ask someone like, oh, what kind of games they like to play. If they say, oh, I like to play social deduction games, then say like, oh, what do you like about social deduction games? And usually that next question will lead to what game you're probably going to pick. So, for example, if you say, hey, do you like social deduction games? Like, yeah, what do you like about them? Well, I like the logic puzzle in it. Then you'd be like, okay, then probably Resistance may be the best bet for you if you like logic puzzles. Or maybe even Secret Hitler if you're fine with a theme. And if either of those pop up, then if either of those strike a light bulb with the person, then go with it. But it's usually like ask a very basic question and follow up with something that goes into a little bit more in depth in terms of why they like playing those sort of games or why they play those sort of games. And all of that, also just ask what some of their favorite types of games are. I mean, if you get an idea of like maybe 2 or 3 of their favorite kind of games, you usually channel that off into something else. Like if someone says, oh, I like Power Grid and I don't know, Terra Mystica, then you're just like, okay, so they like a really mathy sort of game with area control. So how about we go with, I don't know, Ethnos can actually probably work as one of those kind of games. But then you could say, you could suggest that, and then, I don't know, maybe Blood Rage, if you want to trick them into playing a Euro game. But it's like it really just depends on, like, ask them their favorites as well, and that helps out a lot too as well. So those are probably my 3 main tips where picking a game for someone is literally just plopping something down, seeing if it works. You never know, it might strike lightning. And if not that, then ask them like a couple leading questions into getting into more details of what they like about these particular kind of games. And then the last thing would be figuring out the favorites and then branching off from there.
Sure.
Cool.
And I particularly appreciate your first point there, going back to that, and I think it's very important. Like you said, someone taking the initiative and getting the game out. And I think like this happens to me a lot, and where everybody sits around, and it's almost like you're afraid, like I don't know if it's maybe too much. You're afraid too much attention is going to be paid to you, or like if no one likes the game, you'll be responsible, or they're only saying they'll play your game and they really don't want to, and you feel bad about it. But everybody's like, well, this is this is the game I brought, or this is the game I kind of want to play, and everybody's like, oh, okay, yeah. Nobody really wants to make a definitive decision. So if somebody just is the one that's for that, this is what we're going to play. Usually that works out. I'd say 75% of the time that's going to work out for you pretty well.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if you're with a big enough game group. Like if you're playing a game night at a game store, then people are usually pretty more open to either saying no or yes, because there's plenty of other tables that they could sit at, hopefully, if you have game nights that active. But yeah, that's usually that was one thing that really started helping out a lot, was just saying, hey, let's try out this game, and people would either sit down or they won't. So, and you get better at it over time.
Absolutely.
You guys are definitely nicer at when you get people to, you're asking questions on what games they want to play. When people come over my house to play games, 2 choices: we're either playing this one or we're playing this one. That's it. We're not talking about it. You know, if you don't like it, you go someplace else. But also, that's cool when you host a board game night like that, because usually the host kind of makes the decisions. But I've been to other people's houses, and, you know, I bring my games with me, and, you know, they're not having it. So I learned that early on, that if I go over to somebody else's house, I'm kind of at their mercy on what we're going to play.
Sure.
Yeah, the good thing about that is that I do mix it up as well, not with myself, but when I go out to game nights, I do run into game nights like that. And I actually do like that as well, because I know what I'm getting myself into. And also sometimes I can learn the game before I show up too. So those nights are always great as well.
Yeah,
I wouldn't shun upon them or anything like that or call them that nice. Sometimes that's what has to happen.
Yeah, right. No, I definitely think there's a time and place for that, Asdruval, especially when you want to get certain games to the table. Like I just picked up, I've never played Zolkin. I think I pronounced that right, the Mayan calendar. And I've been wanting to play that for a long time. I picked it up a couple weeks ago, and I'm reading the rules, and it's really only a 4-player game. And if you play with 2 or 3, you have to use dummy hands, and I'm not for that. So, we lost Gary again. We'll keep going. You know, you're kind of stuck at 4 players. So I'm planning a night now where I'm going to send out an invite to everybody I play with and say, hey, this is what we're going to play on this night. First 3 people who respond can come, and we're going to play that. So, I mean, no, there's no problem with that. That's definitely a legit. And to go with that, too, I think it's, you know, if someone's willing to learn the games, then they should definitely have the say in what gets played. You know, it's
Right.
you know, when people are like, you know, if I don't know how to play this, but I want to play it here, you learn it. Then, well, no, if I'm learning the games, then we're going to play the games that I want to sit down and learn, and the games I want to play. So, no, I mean that's a legit, totally legit way to look at it. Is, you know, and like you said, when they walk in, say we'll play this or this, you give them 2 choices. As Gary was saying, that's going to save a lot of time.
Right. And usually when somebody doesn't know how to play the game that I've suggested, I mean, the games that I have are, you know, light to medium weight. I don't really play like any heavy games where we have to sit and explain the rules for an hour. So, you know, everybody can get on board pretty quick with the games that I pick.
Sure. Cool. And I think what my biggest piece of advice, and where I usually mess up when you're picking a game for a group, I would say be realistic as to what they're going to be able to play, what they're going to be able to handle. Hey, Gary's back. How you doing, Gary?
Hey, once again, this is going to be in a running
that's all right.
This entire show.
No problem. We were just talking. I was saying one of the piece of advice that I always give, and the one that I'm, you know, bad at taking myself, is being realistic as to, you know, who your group is, what they want to play, and what game they're going to handle. You know, for me, a lot of times where I get hung up a lot is theme, where I'll be playing with a group and I look at the theme and I'm like, wow, if they could get into the theme of this game and really the experience of it, they would love it. But I ignore the you know, maybe the mechanics. Maybe the mechanics are just too much for that group. They're not going to sit down and learn the rules. They're not going to want to, you know, go through all the process of playing it. It might be just, you know, for this example, too deep a game for them. So, you know, I'll say, oh no, they have to get through it because they have to love this theme. And a lot of times that falls flat. So I would say, you know your group, be realistic as what they're going to play, and find something, you know, within their wheelhouse that they're going to enjoy.
That's those are some actually really good things to take note, because if there's one thing I've noticed is that like, for example, oftentimes when I used to host game nights and stuff like that, I would notice that people would come over and they would, and it's not that playing the same games all the time is a bad thing necessarily, but what they want to do is they kept playing games and not taking the hints that people didn't want to play them. So it's like yeah, they're it's like you kind of got to be a little bit more aware of what other people are into rather than kind of what you want to do, which I mean, what you want to do doesn't hurt as well. I mean, it's like there's some times where what you want to do is exactly what everyone else wants to do, but there are also times where it's just yeah, it's not a good fit, like you were saying. You just need to work it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I got my iPad now set up, so the second it drops, just switching over to iPad now. So it's just like
camera 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, let's get into specifics now. Gary, we'll talk about now. I'll give you some ideas of mine, some things I have going on where I need ideas for games. And if you're watching right now, and you, like I said before, if you want suggestions from Gary, get them in now. We'll ask them, and we will get get an idea of maybe something that'll be good for your game. Before we start, Mike, we have a question from, Gary, we have a question from Mike at Solo Mode Games. He's asking, he says, I'm not a fan of direct interaction, dudes on a map, area control, miniatures, or Egyptian themes. Is Kemet the game for me?
Okay, I'll say this. I'll put this out there. I was just playing Kemet with Dan Hughes and Matt. Why am I forgetting Matt's last name? But they're all both from Board Game Breakfast. Mm-hmm. And Matt has actually never played a miniature game before. And he's actually a really big Euro player. And he really enjoyed Kemet. So Kemet might not be the worst option out there. but I'll say this. So one thing about Kemet, and it's actually on a serious side, is that Kemet has so much interaction that you almost shouldn't care. So it's like where people care about people messing with their stuff and hitting them and everything like that. You're getting hit turn one, so you get used to it really quickly. So, yeah. But yeah, I'll say that about Kemet. So it might not be the best suggestion, but I wouldn't knock it off. But like some games, I'll probably suggest in a situation like that, if you want zero interaction, but you still want to be playing a game with people on the table. I mean, naturally you'd go with any sort of Euro, but like some of the more I guess you could say denser Euros that you would want to be playing in that situation. You wouldn't want to be playing something like Dominant Species. That's something that would be horrible for you because there's tons of interaction with that. You'd probably want to play something, and not Power Grid. Power Grid, I consider that a fairly aggressive game too. I would say probably something along the lines of like, why am I having a brain fart in names? Like Caverna's more of on the playful side, even though it's similar to Agricola. There's way more options for you to do in Caverna than you can in Agricola, so that's a little bit more. That's a little bit more of the safer side. If you want to go a lighter game than that, Stone Age, that's as light as it gets when it comes to Euro games. The only problem with that is that the get more family members action is kind of literally only one person could get that around. So that's the only real competitive thing I'd say in Stone Age. Another Euro game you'd probably want to try getting is, I mean, you could also just go with a co-op, to be honest, at that point. If you don't want to deal with that at all, just be completely passive, like Hanabi or like a Pandemic, of course. But if you want to go with like maybe a little bit less known Euro game that might work out, you might want to go with why am I drawing a brain fart? It's a train one. That's all I know. It's one of those train ones. And it's not
Ticket to Ride?
No, it's not Ticket to Ride. But no, and here's the funny thing about Ticket to Ride. Ticket to Ride, people think is not an aggressive game. Ticket to Ride is a super aggressive game once you know how to play the game, especially when you're playing like the African levels. But why am I having a brain fart? Like another small Euro, lesser known Euro you could play. I'm like looking at my wall right now, even though my camera's messed up. I'm probably going to switch to my iPad in a second. I guess another one's not coming to mind that's probably a little bit lesser known. But a lot of the ones I'm thinking of, they're a little bit on the more aggressive side. I guess that Feast of Odin, I guess, yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll ask you about a group that I have. It's kind of been growing. It's kind of like a hodgepodge of people from different groups coming together, and it's grown to about 7 or 8 players. We meet maybe, it's not always that big, but it more frequently is getting that big. And we're all pretty serious. Probably all call ourselves serious gamers. There isn't I'd say a level of complexity that any of us would reject. And with that big a group, we're looking for something a little meatier than, with that size, you get a lot of like social deduction, a lot of party style games, and we're looking for something a little more than that. What would you suggest for that group?
For a group like that, the thing is that it's always hard to find a more complex game at those higher player counts, like you mentioned. Usually they tend to be social deduction games. And if you want to get on the meatier side, it would always be something like Battlestar Galactica, Dark Moon, I wouldn't consider this complex, but also Room 25 is another good fit for that, but that's not that complex either. That's just another programming game. But like one that works pretty well at that player count, I'd say there's a couple. I mean, Seven Wonders, and then if you want to make it more complex, get all of the expansions. And then not only that, you can also try Steampunk Rally. That's another good one, except that's a medium weight game. And then my problem with that game is that while it's really cool, it can last a bit longer than you want it to last. If you're playing with the same people all the time, and if you want a meta to form up, but it's still not a complicated game, Captain Sonar is another really good one. That would be one of those ones where it grows with the group because the group would be getting progressively better at doing things. So then I guess that's where the difficulty would come from, if anything. But besides that, though, there's not really a ton of games that work at that higher player count. I guess maybe Scythe, but that goes up to 7 if you get the expansion. And then like another one I can maybe think of is Rex, but I think that only goes up to 6.
I think so.
Adrenaline, I think, goes up to 6 too. I think Adrenaline surprised me. That only goes up to 5, I think. Okay. But yeah, there's not a ton of really.
Nope.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, you should be switching over soon.
But then, if you read down on the live chat, Mike said that he's hazing Gary.
Yeah, big fan of the segment. That must
but he answered it. He answered it really good.
Yeah, all right,
there
and like promised, I switched over to the iPad.
All right, there he is, camera 2. Okay, Asdruval, did you have any scenarios you wanted to ask Gary about?
A lot of lately, I've been getting a lot of people that are heavily into sports. What sports game can I bring? Sports board game can I bring out that isn't too heavy, light to medium weight?
Oh, sports. That's a for that one. I would maybe say some of the ones that resemble sports more would be like Blood Bowl team. Like it'd be like fantasy sports, kind of like Blood Bowl Team Manager. That'd be one. I mean, I wouldn't go as far as saying like, oh, you should maybe try a miniature game like actual Blood Bowl or what's that new one that came out, Guild Ball or whatever. I wouldn't try that at all. But sports, that's a really tough one. Give me like 2 seconds with that one. I think Blood Bowl Team Manager is like maybe the only sports game I own. I'm trying to like really think about what other ones that are out there.
What player count are you working with there, Asdruval?
Yeah, that's
a good question. At least 4 to 5.
Oh, 4 to 5 too.
Wow.
Because most of the ones I would think of is like
there's only 2 players, right? That's the problem I'm having.
Like 2 to 4 players. Sports game with 5 players. Wow. You know what? I'll keep thinking about that. We'll come back to that.
Yeah, thank you.
That one's gonna bother me actually. Sports games with 5 players. Huh.
While you're thinking about that one, I'll give you another one of mine. I'm looking for more games to play with my kids and my wife. They are, especially my wife's growing a little more into the hobby, and she's watching right now. So, Kathy, comment on there about some of the games that you like and you're interested in, and I'll tell Gary. But she likes Splendor, some lighter games. Not a big fan of Tile Lady. I've tried like Carcassonne and stuff with her. Not a big fan. Real lighter Euros. She'll play Parfumes, a game we've enjoyed together. We played Stone Age recently, and I'd say complexity-wise, that might be their ceiling, at least right now. That when I was explaining the rules of Stone Age, they were starting to drift off a little bit. So that might be the ceiling complexity-wise. So. But I'm looking for something to play with them. And if this helps, my wife loves ocean theme, anything on water or underwater with sea life. She likes Abyss. Big fan of Abyss. Big fan of Oceanos. So anything with that kind of theme would be a bonus.
And I'm assuming since she likes like Euro games, like lighter Euro games and stuff like that, she's not a fan of like Take That or anything like that.
No, she's not a big fan. Anything where she has to be mean, not interested. No, nothing mean and no lines, so no social deduction.
What?
Okay.
She'll play them, but she's
Okay.
not a big fan of them.
Okay. Well, just to get right off the bat, some like the family kid games before I go specifically into your suggestions for your wife. Like natural like kids and family games are great. Are like the escape room games. Every single one of them is great, except for some of the more I guess you could say heavier in theme. Except I don't think there's any of them that are really that bad for kids. Not think about at least not any that I've played. Like I think the worst one I played so far in terms of the theme is like a prison, but that's it. It's not like nothing happens in a prison. So I would like try out the escape room games just for a family game, and also for another family game, I'll try like any of the Hobbit games. Those are awesome. Like I play Super Rhino on a regular basis at this point, and other games like that. But games like Splendor, like definitely Century Spice Road, the new one that just came on that would be really fitting for that situation, since it's like it's considered, people are calling it the Splendor Killer. I don't think it's the Splendor Killer. I think it's just like they could be in the same collection, in my opinion. Other games like that would probably be other engine builder games. Have you tried like Dominion or anything like that? Those rules.
No, we've done some deck building, but we haven't done Dominion yet.
Okay, because that might be one that might work, because that's like it has the same engine building mechanics as in Splendor. So it's like you're building your deck, but instead it's you're building a city or whatever the theme of Dominion is. And I mean, if Dominion works, you never know, if the kids might want to get into something too, then you might, and if Dominion works with your wife and you want the kids to also get involved, then you might want to go down the route of Legendary at that point. So that's maybe something more engaging for them. And then besides that, Emotep, which was what was that? Was that the Spiel des Jahres winner last year? Or was it a nominee? But
it was a finalist. I don't know if it won or not.
Yeah, I think it was just a nominee.
It was just a nominee? Okay.
I think so.
That's another good one. The only problem with that one I've heard, and well, not heard, but I've played, I have the game right there. But the only problem I've had with that game is that it's a little bit take that-ish, a little bit. And the way I say that is that like there's these boats that you take off and you sail them off, which is why I think the same theme would also work as well, because it has to do with the Nile River. But when you take the boats and you go off, there is a possibility of you taking a boat that someone else wanted. So there is that aspect of it. Sure. Besides that, I'm trying to think of something else. That is not that take that-y and is Euro-y. Oh, you know what's an interesting one? It's actually kind of hard to get right now, so maybe it might be a horrible... Actually, no. I'm not even going to suggest it. Never mind. Try to maybe get possible word games. Word games also work pretty well. Families like the new Word Domination that came out right now. I'm actually enjoying that one more than Paperback. But Paperback's also another pretty good one too as well.
Yeah, we have actually played that one together. And I do have a message from my wife here. She does like she wanted me to mention deck builders. She's a fan of deck building.
Oh, okay. So then, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Dominion will probably be my number one suggestion at that point, and then work from there, see what happens from there.
Cool. And speaking of deck building, while we're talking, Asdruval, I thought of one for you. Didn't they make an NHL version of the Cryptozoic deck builder, like they're like the DC Lord of the Rings, like the engine that they used for that? Didn't they make an NHL version of that?
National Hockey League version?
Yeah. I
don't know.
I remember that. I don't think it really went anywhere. They might even be still publishing it, but I remember there's a. I remember because I think I bought like another Cryptozoic game and I got a promo for that. So
interesting.
Let me look that up.
Gotta look at that one.
But that's a good. That's a pretty good. I mean, that's for 5 players, a sports game. That might be a good one.
Right. Okay, while you're looking, I got one more for Gary here.
Okay.
Gateway game that I haven't already heard of. My gateway games right now are Ticket to Ride and Carcassonne and Lords of Waterdeep. Any other gateway games that you can suggest for people that have never played or never played a modern day board game before?
Okay, so because like I have to do a lot of bar events and I'm doing just a lot of events in general, I literally have a photo case container where I have just a bunch of small games. And usually small games, in my opinion, are the best gateway games because it's not intimidating, and half the time it's just a deck of cards or something like that, so people can learn the game pretty easily. Some of my go-to ones that you don't hear all the time would be I have Ghost Blitz up there. That's one that if I'm not mistaken, I believe Steak and Latte say that if someone's never played a game before and they walk into their store, that's the first game that they play. So Ghost Blitz, I already said before, Super Rhino Hero. That's one I play all the time. I'd also suggest the new Shiba Inu house. That's another great dexterity little quick game that you could play where you're trying to build a Shiba Inu house and match colors to the dog on the house. There's also what's this game up here? Quick Pick. Wow, I always forget the name. I always just call it the face game. Oh yeah, Quick Pick. That's it. Quick Pick is it, and that's a game where you're basically just making faces at people and you're just matching cards. I love playing that game at bars. That's such a good game to play. And then not only that, my go-to always. I mean, I guess it is a really commonly known one, but it's Codenames. That's the game that I've actually been progressively using over the past year and a half to get all of my friends that don't play games normally into board games. So, but I think that's one that you hear all the time. So I don't know if that really counts.
Okay.
But
cool.
I'm trying to think of like anything else, but I think that's kind of like the end of that list of like really quick ones.
Asdruval, the NHL Power Play team building card game.
Interesting.
Those guys at Cryptozoic love their long names for their deck building games. Looks like it's $25 on Amazon.
Might have to look it up on eBay.
Yeah, 2 to 4 players.
Okay, close enough.
There you go.
Well, he needed 5 players, didn't he?
Yeah.
Somebody has to watch.
Yeah.
I'll ask you another one, Gary. Another situation I have right now. I have.
I'm looking at Board Game Geek. There's Baseball Highlights 2045.
There you go.
How I forgot about that one. That's like the best one like ever made. So, but anyways, yeah. Sorry.
No, okay. I got one here. Somebody's asking, what should I have my parents play? They're tired of crossword puzzles and jigsaw puzzles. Something simple and quick to learn.
Something quick to learn for. I'm assuming they're just playing with each other.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's him playing with his parents.
Oh, it's him playing with his parents.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't know if this is the case with everyone, but my grandparents, and my parents, they've all played card games. So, like, I mean, I grew up playing spades, hearts, basically every card game under the planet. So, for me personally, I would be suggesting games like trick-taking games like Diamonds. Surprisingly, Hanabi translates really well for people to learn how to play for some odd reason. And one that actually randomly worked one time, but it's never worked since, but I still consider it to try it out. Actually, no, I wouldn't suggest it. But I was going to say the Grizzled, but that might be a little bit too much at that point. But usually card games tend to work pretty well, like trick-taking card games. And there's also a Skull King. That's another really good one.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
But if you're trying to get into board games, then co-ops, I guess. But yeah.
Sure.
Like Pandemic.
Situation I have right now is I have my nephews living with us. He and I have a lot of chances to play 2-player games, and we don't have a whole lot of options right now. Our schedule's a little different. I work days, he works nights. So the time we have, awake and alert and together to play isn't always very long. So I'm looking for something maybe on a little shorter end, not a lot of setup. Not a whole lot of rules. Remember that if we don't play for it, we got to go back and read them. But something we can sit down and enjoy, specifically at a 2-player level.
Now, my question is how often are you guys playing these games? Because if you're playing 3 to 4 times a week, every week for like a year or so, there's some games I'd recommend other than others, because there's some more games that are more in depth than others. We
probably have the opportunity to play. If we have the games to play, we could probably play, as often as 3-4 times a week.
Okay, in that situation, if you're playing 3 to 4 times a week, 2 games I would recommend. One game I would recommend better than the other one, way better than the other one. But the number one game I'd recommend is BattleCon, in particular getting Devastation of Endines out of all the expansions. The reason why BattleCon is that BattleCon can be played in roughly about 30 to 45 minutes, an hour absolutely tops. The best thing about the game is that the characters are also in levels of how difficult they are to play and how difficult they are to understand. And there's a ton of characters in the game. I literally have every character, and I think it is well over 70 characters in the entire game from all the expansions.
Oh,
so
wow.
it's like one of those games where it's like you can play it over and over and over and over and over again, and it'll always be a fresh game because you're playing new characters. And then the game after that I would suggest, which is has almost as much replayability but not as much, would be Pixel Tactics, which is another level of 99 game. The only problem with Pixel Tactics is that the first like 5 or 6 times you're going to be referring to BGG a lot for a lot of the rules. And that's the biggest downfall about the game. But they're making an online version of it, so that'll probably fix a lot of things. But if you're trying to get into less games like that where there's a little bit less replayability, one of my top games I would suggest right now is 13 Days, which is a great 2-player game. It's basically Twilight Struggle in 30 minutes, and it literally is 30 minutes. That's what they say on the box is not an exaggeration. But 13 Days it's a great game. Not only that, I think at Gen Con or something like that, they're coming out with 13 minutes. So they're taking that exact same game and then putting it into 13 minutes. So it's like ridiculous. But yeah, if you're trying to look for a game like that, that's definitely one I would suggest. Besides that, I mean, you could go with like Lost Cities. That's another classic 2-player game. You could go with they have the Tides of Madness, and what was the version before that?
Tides of Time.
It's Tides of Time. Yep, where it's a drafting 2-player drafting game. Those are good, except the thing about those is that those don't have as much replay value as the other games I've mentioned.
Sure.
There's Mr. Jack 10th Edition, which is a great game, but that game got old for me quickly. But I've heard of other people playing the game a ton, like Dan King from Board Game Geek. He's played 100 times, so it's like it might work for some, might not work with others. So.
Sure.
And there's also Onitama and all the expansions as well.
Sure. What are some good 2-player co-ops?
2-player co-ops can literally be any co-op. So, but like I guess some of my favorite games that work best at 2-player co-ops. I mean, if you have the time to set it up, Mage Knight. But that's if you have the time to set up and play that game. Not everyone does. Not everyone even has close to that amount of time to do that.
Yeah, that's what setup time is one of our, because like I said, we get together and I'm just getting off work. He might be getting ready to work. Neither of us are really have a whole lot of energy, so a big setup isn't ideal for us.
One that works pretty well is I wouldn't recommend Hanabi. I wouldn't recommend Pandemic. Those are I've heard too easy. I know Pandemic for a fact is too easy at 2 players. I've heard Hanabi is too easy at 2 players. But the one I would recommend that's similar to Hanabi is Baker Street. That works fairly well 2 players. It's obviously better with 4 players, but it still works solidly at 2 players. Sure. The Forbidden Desert and Island series, I prefer Forbidden Desert. Those work solid at 2 players. I would almost only would play Eldritch Horror at 2 or 3 players, but that's another one that's too long for you guys. I'm trying to think of what else. Oh, the Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes. That's probably actually maybe the number one I would suggest. The only thing about that one is that one's an hour or 2-hour game. But you can just stop playing and then catch up and then come back to your notes later and continue playing it later. So I actually did that while traveling across Europe. I played that game with one of my exes, and we literally just got on a train for a half an hour, played it, put all our notes into a folder, and then walked away, and then continued on the next train ride.
Oh, that's cool.
So
yeah, try that out. Asdruval, did you have any other questions for Gary?
No, but going back to your 2-player, how he said that Pandemic was too easy for 2 players. How about Pandemic: The Cure with the dice rolling?
Oh, I actually only played that once, and it was literally like 2 months ago. That one seemed like it would work perfectly fine with 2 players. It didn't seem like it would run into the same issues as regular Pandemic with the expansions, or just regular Pandemic in general.
Right. It's a little bit shorter than regular Pandemic, but I do enjoy that one a lot.
Yeah, that's true. And that is also true. It's way shorter than Pandemic, and way less of a setup too.
Right.
Awesome.
Even though Pandemic doesn't have that much of a setup. Yeah.
Well, Gary, I appreciate you, working with us and helping us out there. I'm going to take some of your suggestions, looking at those games, and I think it's always good to have somebody who can, kind of have that knowledge and break that down for us. So we appreciate you helping us out there, and it's been good to talk about these. Just that idea of finding those games and the ways to go through it. And so I think that was a very helpful conversation. I appreciate you both participating. Before we go, we're going to play our pop trivia game that's sweeping this YouTube channel. That is Stump the Chump. Gary, I don't know if you've been keeping up with all the Stump the Chump drama over the past couple of episodes. We had some issues. There's been some controversy, including Asdruval's first ever loss a few episodes ago. But
I think I saw that one.
he came back roaring last time when he went for a perfect 10 for 10. So he's back with a vengeance. So you have your work cut out for you. The way the game works is I gave you, both of you have a list of 25 categories. If you're playing at home, check the description. You'll be able to see what the guys are choosing from. The first thing you can do before we start picking categories, Gary, you have first choice here. You can choose to veto one of the categories, which means Asdruval can't pick it, and it won't be available in the game.
Was originally going to go with Adele, but then I just noticed detective novels, and I know nothing about detective novels. So I'm going to go detective, if I can pronounce it, detective novels. Yeah.
All right, detective novels are off the board. Asdruval, which category are you going to veto?
I am going to take off the board Wide World of Sports.
Wide World of Sports is off the table. Okay, in that case, now we will take turns. Gary, we'll start with you. You each will take turns picking 5 categories, and those will be the 10 categories we play with. So other than the 2 that were eliminated, Gary, which category would you like to play first?
I'm going to go with stand-up comedy.
All right. Asdruval, your first pick?
80s music.
80s music. All right. Gary?
Let's go with spoiler alert.
All right. And Asdruval, your next pick?
90s sitcom.
90s sitcoms. Go with the decades. All right. Gary, you're up.
How about music videos?
Music videos. All right. Asdruval?
Famous toys.
Famous toys. All right.
Coming attractions.
Coming attractions. All right. And Asdruval?
This week in pop culture.
This week. All right. And Gary, your final pick?
I've not been keeping up with anything this week. How about
Well, it's this week in pop culture history, so it's things that happened.
How about Netflix originals?
Netflix, okay. And Asdruval, your final pick.
TV commercials.
TV commercials. All right. And let me just pick out the categories that you guys picked here. Get them in order.
Here's where we need the music, you know.
Exactly. Asdruval, how are your plans coming for Gen Con?
I am super excited. 20 more days till Gen Con. You can find me at the Restoration Games booth. I'll be working that booth. Gary, I heard you're going to Gen Con also?
Yeah, it's a really last second planned. I basically am going to be helping out Tom and at the Dice Tower table, so cool. I'm going to be volunteering over there, and then I have some friends going down there, so I'm traveling with them, and so
you're going to be staying all 4 days? Gary, you're going to be staying all 4 days?
I'm showing up midday through Wednesday, and I'm leaving, I think, first thing Sunday. Okay. So it's gonna be my first Gen Con, so it's gonna be just a learning experience at this point. I don't even know what games I'm gonna get. I already did the whole what's that listing that you can do online? It's like tabletop help together or something like that.
I'm not really sure. This is gonna be my first one too.
Sweet.
I'm a newbie. I heard it's pretty overwhelming your first time.
Yeah, I've heard that too. That's why I've made no plans. I'm just going with nothing.
Follow everybody around. Okay, Gary, here's how it works. Asdruval will enter the booth of silence. We'll ask you the 10 questions first. I'll keep a timer for you. If you don't have the answer to a question, you can if you want to pass, you pass, come back to it. The only thing that time it really matters for is a tiebreaker if you're tied. If you don't know, just say don't know. That's the wrong answer, but pass we'll come back to. We'll do you first, then we'll come back to Asdruval, and whoever has the most questions right is the chump for this week. All right, Asdruval, it's
Yes,
time
sir.
for you to enter the Roll and Move Live Booth of Silence.
All right, I'm out.
Boom, 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 boom. Okay, Asdruval can no longer hear us. Gary, are you ready?
Yep.
All right, I will start the timer after I read the first question. Okay, in stand-up comedy, name 2 of the 4 original kings of comedy.
Oh, that's Bernie Mac and oh my God, my aunt dated one of them. I'm trying to blank on his name. Can I pass and come back to that?
Yeah, we'll pass on that one. Okay, 80s music. Who sang the 1985 hit "You Spin Me Round"?
Oh my God. Pass. I'm gonna come back to that one. I know that.
All right.
Oh my God.
Okay, spoiler alert. In The Usual Suspects, who played the role of Kaiser Soze?
I just heard his name earlier today. It's the guy from House of Cards, isn't it? Oh my God. I'm never going to remember his name, so I'm going to make a wild guess. I'm just going to say like Tom Hardy, even though I know that's wrong.
That's incorrect. Okay. 90 sitcoms. Reginald Vale Johnson played a police officer in Die Hard, as well as what 90s sitcom?
I'm going to take a stab at it and say Family Matters.
Correct.
No, Full House. Sorry, Full House.
No, you had it right the first time. You had it right. You got it right.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Wait. Okay.
Okay. Music videos. Which artist released their video Lazarus on January 7th, 2016, 3 days before their death?
Lazarus. And this is 80s?
No, this is music videos. January 7th, 2016, 3 days before their death.
Sorry. I'm going to go with who died recently? I'm going to say Amy Winehouse.
Incorrect.
Okay.
Famous toys. Mattel recently announced that an upcoming version of what famous toy character would include a man bun?
What famous character?
Toy character.
Toy character?
Mm-hmm.
He-Man?
Incorrect. Coming attractions. Who is playing Commissioner Gordon in the upcoming Justice League movie?
I can't hear you. What was that?
Who is playing Commissioner Gordon in the upcoming Justice League movie?
Oh, wait, can you start that question over? I couldn't hear it. It cut off.
Yeah, I'll pause your time here, too. Who is playing Commissioner Gordon in the upcoming Justice League movie?
Oh, I have no idea. He's like the one actor I have no idea who he is. He's like one of those guys you just see in every movie. I don't know his name. Billy Crystal. I don't know. It's not gonna go.
Okay. This week in pop culture history. On July 23rd, 1982, actor Vic Morrow was killed on the set of what movie?
Vic Morrow was killed. What was his category again? Sorry.
This week in pop culture history. Happened on July 23rd, 1982.
Oh, I don't know. Terminator?
Incorrect. Netflix originals. In Stranger Things, what is the name the kids give to the monster?
I heard what is the name. I couldn't hear anything else after that.
In Stranger Things, what is the name that the kids give to the monster?
Oh my god. I'm one of those kind of people that's super unobservant when I watch movies and shows. Nosferatu or something like that, or it was the it's not gonna come. I'm gonna say Nosferatu, even though I know that's wrong. But it's a huge toy that they had at the beginning of the show.
That's incorrect.
But they're playing D&D. No.
Okay, TV commercials. What animals are the mascots for Charmin toilet paper?
Oh, isn't that bears?
Yes, correct. Okay, going back to the ones you passed on. Stand-up comedy. Name 2 of the 4 original kings of comedy.
I said Bernie Mac, and then the other one isn't it Steve Harvey? Isn't Steve
Correct.
Harvey one of them?
Yes, he is.
All right.
Okay, and 80s music. Who sang the 1985 hit "You Spin Me Round"?
This one's never gonna come. I'm just gonna say B-52. It's not right.
Incorrect. Okay, so at 4 minutes and 50 seconds, you got 3 right. Now that's not terrible. Asdruval's loss. His loss came at somebody who got less than 3, so you're not out of it. It's not a bad performance.
Yeah, it was 2. Yeah.
Yeah, some of these questions are tough, so we'll bring him back in. Okay. All right, Asdruval, are you ready?
Excuse me?
Are you ready?
Oh, yes, I am.
Okay, let me reset my timer here. Okay, you know how the game is played. I will start the timer after I ask the first question.
Okay.
In the category of stand-up comedy, name 2 of the 4 original kings of comedy.
D.L. Hughley, Bernie Mac.
Correct. 80s music. Who sang the 1985 hit "You Spin Me Round"?
Dead or Alive.
Correct.
Oh my god.
Spoiler alert. In The Usual Suspects, who played the role of Kaiser Soze?
Kevin Spacey.
Correct.
Oh my god.
90s sitcoms. Reginald Vell Johnson played a police officer in Die Hard, as well as what 90s sitcom?
Family Matters. Family Matters.
Correct. Music videos. Which artist released their video Lazarus on January 7th, 2016, 3 days before their death?
David Bowie.
Correct. Famous toys. Mattel recently announced that an upcoming version of what famous toy character would feature a man bun?
Is it the Ken doll?
Yes. Coming attractions. Who is playing Commissioner Gordon in the upcoming Justice League movie?
J.K. Simmons.
Correct. This week in pop culture history. On July 23rd, 1982, actor Vic Morrow was killed on the set of which movie?
I don't know.
All right. Netflix original. In Stranger Things, what is the name given to the monster by the kids?
Another Stranger Things question. I don't know.
All right. And TV commercials. What animals are the mascots for Charmin toilet paper?
Bears.
Correct. All right, Asdruval, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You got 8 correct. Gary got 3. So once again, you are the winner this week on your revenge tour. Well, then you got. Let me see.
All right.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So including last week, you got 17 correct consecutive answers.
Jeez.
Right. So I think that's probably a Stump the Chump record. So Gary, again, just like our last episode, I told her you're running into a buzzsaw here. After his loss, Asdruval had just been a man on fire and has been unwilling to take any kind of defeat. So you just ran into that. You had a good showing. Again, 3 out of 10 isn't as bad as it sounds. That's actually a pretty good record for what we've been some of the compared to some of the contestants we've had lately. So you'll have to come back again soon and give another shot. Those are some hard questions. So appreciate you being a good sport and playing along. As well, congratulations on another win.
Thank you.
All right, guys.
Yeah, I need to start hitting up the trivia nights. That's what I need to start doing.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for playing. Thanks for coming on the show. Had a great time with you guys tonight. A lot of good conversation. I'm excited. It's usually after I wrap up a show, it's about time for me to go to bed, so it's still early tonight. Get to go play some games and hang out and do some other stuff, so that should be fun. Before we go, Gary, you got anything you want to let people know about? Anything you want to plug or just announce on the air right now?
Besides just the typical thanks for having me guys on the show and everything like that. But no, I mean, I have a YouTube channel called Late to the Table. Basically, it's about tips and tricks and how-tos for board games. I'm kind of also starting to branch into a little things like, for example, right now I'm currently editing a review that I've been working on. I'm actually going to have 4 or 5 reviews done before the end of the year. And these are kind of bigger reviews, and the whole thing that makes them different is that they're large group reviews. Like my smallest group is 3 people. The largest one I have so far, I think, is like 8 people reviewing the game. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. But besides that, tips, tricks, I think this week I'm releasing an Uber Stacks video. If you've ever heard of Uber Stacks, they're like card holders. So, but yeah, so be sure to check out my channel.
Very cool. All right,
and also
Asdruval.
Dice Tower. So yeah.
Asdruval, how about you?
Just you can come and say hi to me at Gen Con if you'll be there. I'll be at the Restoration Games booth. And you can watch me every other Thursday on Board Game Blender.
I hear that there's a rumor going around there's going to be a special announcement at the Restoration Games booth at Gen Con. Can you confirm or deny?
I cannot confirm or deny what that announcement will be, but they are announcing their next slate of games at the Dice Tower live show.
Okay. Am I going to be excited and happy about what I hear? You know what game I want to hear?
Maybe. I cannot confirm or deny anything.
I'll put $5. It's either...
He's got...
I'll put $5. It's either going to be that... what's that old lava game where you're trying to go down a volcano?
Fireball Island?
Yeah, Fireball Island.
That's the one we're talking about.
That, or something stupid, ridiculous like Heroescape. Oh, is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah.
Nice.
That's what I've been pitching.
Like
that's the one he's been since day one, Kirk.
Since day one.
You said Fireball Island, but yeah.
And Asdruval, I've been waiting for you. You got to come on, man. Throw your weight around.
Yeah, I know. I've been trying, man. I've been trying.
You walk in here and say, "Hey, man, I'm the retro gamer. This is how the things are going to go down."
Yeah. Big announcement though. Dice Tower live show. Everybody tune in for that, and we'll announce our next slate of games.
Awesome. Very excited to see that. Whatever it will be, I'm sure there'll be awesome games no matter what. Fireball game would be the most awesome. Fireball Island would be the most awesome. But whatever you guys announce, I'm sure they'll be very exciting and cool to play. When are they? Has their first the first wave, has that released yet? Are they out yet?
Yeah, the first wave, Downforce, Indulgence, and Stop Thief will be available. It launches at Gen Con.
Okay, cool. All right. Okay, guys. All Gary's information everywhere you can. Well, most of the places you can find him online are in the description. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, tell me what you thought about it. Tell us about, your suggestions for guests in the future. And thanks so much for watching. Spend your Friday night with us. We will see you again soon. Take care.
Good night.
I watch the show to get Will Wheaton. Will Wheaton.
All right, I'll get on that.
Yeah, okay.
Next Sunday. All right, guys. Good night.